You are looking live at folks coming back from breakfast or going to breakfast at the Hilton. That's where Senator John McCain stayed last night. Well rested, I'm sure, after his comedy debut there on Saturday Night Live.
Boy, it's a home stretch.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this morning we want to take a look back at the campaigns, the defining moments. What will people take away from Campaign 08?
They have been with us for the last couple of months. They are the guys that give you their opinions, many of them educated. Steve Adubato, and political journalist and a CBS 2 blogger. Errol Lewis, the political columnist for the New York Daily News and morning radio host of WWRL Radio. Morning, guys.
Morning. This is it.
Are you surprised at, I guess, at the way this is finishing?
Well, actually, we don't know how it's going to be finishing. And if you look at those polls, which we're obviously obsessed over, those numbers, we need those numbers, they're confusing. And I believe in a lot of states it is unclear what's going to happen. And I also believe there is what is commonly referred to as the Bradley effect, referring to former Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley. I do believe there are a fair number of people who happen to be white who are not being as honest as they really could or should be, or maybe don't know in the end whether they can vote for the first potential African-American president. And the other thing is there were 20-some-odd thousand new voters, 20 million plus new voters. Right. Many of them are going to be Democrats. Many of them are new citizens. Many of them are going to lean Obama. Bottom line is polls are confusing right now, and I don't think they accurately reflect what's out there.
Yeah, very difficult to say. I personally don't believe in the Bradley effect, in part because people from that campaign said, look, we screwed it up. We never really did a great turnout operation, but that's 1982. This year, I think one of the things that's going to throw off a lot of the polls is that we don't know what the black turnout is going to be, you know, and I have a column about it in today's paper. Normally 60% of all black registered voters come out. You can pick a number out of a hat. This year it might be 70%, 75, 80%, 90%. Who knows? And what you do, what number you put in there and what you assume will determine in certain states like Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, what the outcome is going to be, frankly.
You think McCain might get a fair number of those?
No, not that he will get them, but, you know, if people stay home, that's the thing. Because if people actually don't turn out, then it could go any which way.
And young voters, who knows if they even vote
young
at
voters,
all.
First-time voters.
Exactly.
It's a big wild card.
This will so influence those battleground states. If you were to pick two states, what do you think are you going to be watching very carefully that night?
I'm going to be watching Virginia because the polls close at 7 p.m. So if you want to make it an early night, if he wins Virginia, if Obama wins Virginia, you can look forward to an Obama presidency. It'll essentially be over because the electoral map will pretty much go in his direction, I would think. I'm also going to take a look at Colorado, some of these mountain states. Colorado will be of interest. Nevada will be of interest.
To me, it's Florida. It's always Florida in the end. I mean, obviously, Pennsylvania and Ohio are key states. I do believe Obama has a strong shot there. If Obama does not win Florida, that's going to mean a lot because it means a lot of older voters were affected by the McCain campaign talking about Social Security and Medicare. I am telling you that there are a fair number of people in Florida who, again, I don't believe are going to pull that lever for Obama. If he loses there, I think he's going to have a problem.
Errol, you talked about the ground game for Obama. It is just, it's been amazing. It has been highly organized. I met some people the other night who will be going to the polling places in Pennsylvania to make sure people get going. The same people knew that there are people doing the same thing in Milwaukee. If he's as organized on Election Day as he has been, it could be ugly.
Oh, sure. Well, you know, what's interesting is this is going to be, for a lot of people, the revenge of the community organizers who were mocked during the Republican National Convention in St. Paul. I mean, a lot of people actually got in. They did a whole appeal just based on that. You know, the saying, like, look, if you want to strike back against these people who have insulted the idea of citizen involvement, here's a good way to do it. I'll tell you something else, though. From the radio show, we've asked people, what are you going to do? You know, New York and New Jersey, Obama's expected to win by 20 points. There are a surprising number of people to me who have been going out every weekend to Pennsylvania to campaign.
Exactly.
It's amazing, really.
Let's talk about the week that was. Last week of campaigning for these candidates, Barack Obama, an infomercial, half hour of airtime, and then you had John McCain on Saturday Night Live last night. Talk about this infomercial. What do you think about this?
The infomercial, look, you have the money, you do it, but it was unnecessary. It was overkill, if you will, and the biggest reason Obama was able to do it, I said it last week, I'll say it again, he should have accepted public financing. The way he was able to finance this infomercial was because he got rid of all of the limits on how much he was supposed to spend after promising to be able to do it. Look, I know it's not a big issue in the campaign. People say, yeah, listen, you can can raise the money, you use it. This guy, in many ways, is expected to be better than other politicians. That's why they shouldn't have thrown the New York Post and others who didn't support Obama off the campaign plane. They said there would be a different kind of politician. He should have accepted public financing, which would have meant he wouldn't have been able to do this infomercial. I thought it was overkill and unnecessary.
I think it was overkill only in the sense that, or strategically, I think what it did was basically dominate the campaign. It took a whole news cycle away from John McCain at a point where he needs every bit of press that he can get. You know, I mean, we talked about it before the infomercial. We talked about it after. It actually played. And so it just wiped out 2 of the last 5 days that McCain might have had.
And what about comedy on the campaign trail?
I have to tell you, McCain, in his own way, is funny. Yeah. And he's funny because he plays the straight guy, and I think... Listen, in 2000, the media loved John McCain. Obviously, that's changed in 8 years. And one of the biggest reasons was they said when they were on that so-called Straight Talk Express, that bus, he was funny. He was irreverent. He poked fun at himself. That's what he did last night. Again, Tina Fey was funnier. She will always be funnier. She's the professional. But they look good together. He gets the joke. They're on QVC instead of the major networks. Why? I'm a real maverick. I'm a Republican with no money. He gets the joke, and I believe on some level that helps him.
Any bombshells the last couple of days? We saw the Reverend Wright, the ads that were running the last 2 days.
Surprised they haven't run sooner.
I'm very surprised about that. Any from either side, do you think?
Well, the fact that Obama's aunt in Boston that he talks about a lot, last minute, you know, she's not a citizen. Oh, geez, he didn't know that. Again, there are a lot of things, and again, great candidate. He may become the first African-American president, but there are too many things, in my opinion, that Obama didn't know about. Didn't know about Reverend Wright, didn't know about his aunt, didn't know about heirs, didn't know about a lot of things. That could add up over time.
Yeah, well, it may make it difficult for his presidency, but for the next 48 hours, I don't know if it'll make that much difference because the Republicans don't have the money to respond. I mean, Obama's running ads in Arizona, for God's sake, and that's just like a little dig, a way of saying, like, look, we've got so much money, we can advertise in states we know we're not going to win.
They have a lot to thank the Democrats for 2 people, George Bush and Dick Cheney.
2 days to go. Who wins?
Oh, unclear. I think it's more likely to be a blowout on the Democratic side than a squeaker on the Republican side. But those are really your 2 options at this point.
Extremely, extremely close. And I'm not going to predict the winner because I don't want to try to influence it. But it's going to be closer than people think.
We're going to talk to Bob Schieffer coming up in just a little bit. Surprising, real quickly, that President Bush not one appearance as a sitting president. Not one.
Well,
which obviously we know why, but
that's why I'm surprised that Dick Cheney went back to his home state of Wyoming and campaigned. And of course, what does McCain say? He's more like his cousin Obama. It was ridiculous. They did not want the White House anywhere near this campaign, and Bush did not help the Republicans.
Yeah, it might have been a fair fight, but the Bush administration was just too big of a burden to carry, I think, for this ticket.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
It's been a good ride.
All right. Remember, CBS 2 is your home for politics. Bob Schieffer, as we said, in the building. He'll have much more on Face the Nation coming up at 10:30.
And at 11, spirited debate with John McLaughlin and the McLaughlin Group. That is right here on CBS 2.